It was the big L. Ron Hubbard birthday event in Clearwater, Florida. The event itself was actually happening at Ruth Eckerd Hall, but some less fortunate members of Scientology had to get all gussied up and watch a live feed of the video at the Fort Harrison Hotel. A couple of critics of Scientology had announced they were going to protest at the Fort Harrison Hotel this night, but Scientology had closed down the sidewalk to make sure that didn't happen.
Do we have an officer here?
I noticed a police officer walking down the block toward me with some fancy-dressed woman. They stopped, so I just kept on filming. The critics told me they were going to walk down the block and go across the street and do a little protest on the other side.
Is that DM? Is that David Miscavige? I don't know. You think Shelley's in here with him?
So I started to walk down toward that area by myself. I wasn't filming at the moment, but as I approached the officer and the woman, she shouted out at me, 10 feet! I stopped and said, really? I asked the officer if I could go out into the road around the cars to get past her, and he said, nope, you can't do that. That's illegal. Again, the camera wasn't on at that point, but I started recording.
So are you going to stay there so that I can't walk down the street?
You're the one that came toward me. You know that you're not allowed to come within 10 feet of an individual that you know is a Scientologist.
I had no idea you were a Scientologist until you said 10 feet.
Are kidding.
What's that?
You have to be kidding.
I'm not kidding. What about you says Scientologist?
And actually, it's embarrassing. I had no idea, but it turns out she's an OSA bigwig. So now I'm put in this position where this old LMT injunction that was put in place 16 years ago is being used against me, and only me. I'm the only named party still in the Clearwater area.
So, officer, I'm not allowed to walk around her. What's to prevent more Scientologists to create a little blockade so I can't move anywhere?
This portion, that portion of the sidewalk is closed.
Right.
So
I'm not on that portion of the sidewalk.
would you let me talk?
Yes, please.
You can use the crosswalk. Normally I'd tell you to use the crosswalk, but you can't use the crosswalk because that portion of the sidewalk is closed.
Exactly.
So what I'm telling you to do is you have to walk around.
So I have to walk around the entire block just to go to that corner.
For right now, yes, sir.
Does that make sense? Or I can just walk this way down. I mean, it's just insane. And is there a reason you're following me?
Just walking.
Okay. See, you're free to do that. Apparently, I'm not allowed to walk.
All right, so now I'm getting a little upset, but it's not the cop's fault. He's being paid by Scientology to enforce this injunction, which is still in place. But the whole reason I was here tonight was because I knew these protesters were going to be out here. This injunction has been used against anyone who tries to protest for 16 years now. And these two have been fighting this injunction and winning. Anyone else, except me, can now freely picket.
So Scientology has tried to stop you from protesting here. How have they done that?
Well, what they do is they try to get me connected with you somehow so that the injunction will carry over, or sort of by osmosis will spread over to me, but that hasn't worked. So what they've been trying to do is have officers take police reports and say that I'm working in conjunction with you. They'll take all my information, and so they kind of suck. They take like 15, 20 minutes of my time, and I'm only out here for like maybe an hour at a time, so that's a big chunk. So that's how they try to do it. They try to get the cops to talk to me, distract me from protesting, and just try to keep me from doing what I'm doing.
And they've had you arrested, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a long story. The injunction's pretty old. Not a lot of officers are very familiar with it. And they confused this one officer about, there's a map attached to the injunction, and he got confused about where the property lines were. And because I was in one of the areas covered by the injunction, he thought they owned that property, that was church property. And because I was in that area, he arrested me for trespassing. Very quickly, they realized their mistake. The next day, they said they weren't even going to forward the charges. They didn't apologize to me, but they essentially said, apologized to me without apologizing.
Now, over your shoulder here, there's an officer with someone from the Office of Special Affairs.
Yeah, that's Sarah Heller, head of legal at OSA.
And they were just over here taking lots of pictures of me interviewing you folks.
Hey, can you tweet that at me, please?
Do you think they're making the case right now that we're acting in concert together?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they've been trying to do. That's not going to work. I have a email from the chief of police saying that the only way the injunction will be an issue for me, for him, for anybody else, will be as if they go to court and get us added to the injunction as a named party, which I don't see happening, because the second they do that, they open themselves up to a challenge of the injunction, which is well past its prime. And I tried to get it dissolved myself, but because it was a closed case, because I'm not a named party, the judge kicked it out, which is actually kind of reasonable, actually. So I'm just waiting for them to make a move, and as soon as they do, I'll strike.
I'm here because there are people that can't be here, that have been abused at the hands of Scientology, that have died. Not, I can't say because of Scientology, but because of Scientology practices, like Kyle Brennan. And I'm sick of hearing about families that have been disconnected because they've left the church, because they've dared question what's gone on, and then their family members are still in there and they can't talk to them. They've been told that if you talk to this person, your eternal soul is going to be damned. I'm just sick of that. I have no problem with Scientology in general. It's the fact that if you're going to be a religion, then let people come and go as they please. Let people research it for themselves. Don't dictate to them what they can and cannot see, read, and hear.
I'm just here to kind of try and break their bubble, let them ask them about Shelley Miscavige, where she's been. It seems to me that people might wonder where she is after years of seeing her by David Miscavige's side, and all of a sudden she's not here anymore. So I kind of prompt them to maybe think about her, and to also point out Lee Remini, former Sea Org, right here in Clearwater, baby, that she wrote a book and had some good truths to tell, or some interesting truths to tell about David Miscavige and how he treats people, which is not very well.
Officer, could I ask you why you prevented me from coming 10 feet from a Scientologist, but you allowed all those Scientologists to come within 10 feet of me?
Because there's an injunction.
Yes, and the injunction pertains to both sides. And it seems to be only being used against me.
Because they weren't served with the injunction.
Aha.
They don't know it exists.
So I didn't know she was served. I didn't know who she was until they told me.
Now you know.
Right. So don't you think that's a little unfair? That I could be accused of breaking the injunction?
No.
Okay. It shouldn't be Scientology's job to inform the Scientologists to stay 10 feet away from me?
I don't know. It's not
Okay.
that's not my position.
All right.